All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A therapist is helping a client improve task completion. At first, the client is reinforced for each problem they complete. Over time, the therapist switches to providing a reward only after the client completes 5 problems in a row. The therapist notices the client's persistence improves under the new schedule. Each schedule is considered a blank schedule. Now, we have a basic reinforcement schedule question here. And with basic reinforcement schedule questions, you want to ask yourself 2 things. Is reinforcement based on responses or time? And is reinforcement set or changing? So let's first ask ourselves, is this reinforcement based on responses or time? We know a therapist is working on task completion. They're reinforced for problems they complete. Therapist switches to a reward system that now reinforces the client for completing 5 problems in a row. So we've gone from a reinforcement system that provides the client reinforcement every problem to every 5 problems. So we're not based on time here, right? We're based on responses. Second, is it fixed or is it changing? Well, at first, it's every single problem. Then we switch to every 5 problems, but that's consistent. When it's every 5 problems, it's never changing. So it's fixed. So if we look at a fixed ratio, this is a set number of responses. So we're looking at each schedule being a fixed ratio. A fixed interval, it is fixed, right? Because the requirement is not changing, but we're not basing it on time or interval. And then variable ratio and variable interval. Since the requirement never changes and it's fixed, it's not going to be variable. So each schedule is considered a fixed ratio schedule. Michelle votes in every election. She always prefers to go to a voting site and cast her ballot in person, but this year she had a conflict on election day. Instead, Michelle wrote in her vote and mailed it off. Michelle is demonstrating what? So let's look at Michelle's behavior. What is she demonstrating? We know she votes in every election. Sometimes she goes right to the voting site, cast her ballot in person, but this year she was able to write in her vote. So she's voting in different ways. So when we are engaging in a response or multiple responses that are serving the same function, what can we call that? A, expressive instructions. Well, expressive instructions are when someone is asked to verbalize something or when someone verbalizes something. Michelle is not engaging in expressive behavior or expressive instructions. Receptive instructions. Receptive instructions are listener skills, right? Listener instructions, following directions, not relevant here either. Stimulus generalization. Stimulus generalization occurs when a single response happens in the presence of multiple stimuli. In this case, the stimulus is it's time to vote, and Michelle engages in multiple responses. The first response is going to the voting site in person. The second response is writing in her vote. So Michelle's ability to engage in different responses to meet the same function is her ability to generalize responses or response generalization. Rachel has been with the client for over a year now and has good rapport with the family. Rachel's supervisor wants to start using an extinction procedure targeting a new behavior that just started. The supervisor asked Rachel to train the parents on the procedure. What should Rachel do? So let's think about this question, right? We're looking at Rachel's behavior, and what do we know about Rachel? We know Rachel has been with a client for over a year, has good rapport. Her supervisor says time to start using an extinction procedure, and the supervisor also wants Rachel to train the parents. Now, if you're in this situation as a technician where your supervisor requests that you train parents, what should you do? Because as we know, the role of the RBT is implementation. You assist in parent training, you assist in assessment. Your main role is implementation. But if you are given permission to parent train, are you allowed? So what should Rachel do? A, train the parents as long as she is comfortable conducting the training. Yes, as long as Rachel is comfortable, she's competent, she's been given permission, she can train the parents. There's nothing wrong with that. But Rachel must be comfortable with the procedure and with the training. B, refuse to conduct a training until she is board certified. Rachel's been given permission. If she understands what she's doing and she's competent, she is now allowed to train those parents. What we can't do is go off as technicians and train on our own without guidance. C, remind the supervisor that would be unethical for her to train parents. There's nothing unethical here as long as Rachel, again, is well trained, is competent, is comfortable, and has been given permission. Since those are true, assumingly, Rachel can train the parents as long as she is comfortable conducting the training. You have a shower radio that connects to your phone through Bluetooth. When you turn the radio on, it typically takes anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds for your phone to make the connection. 3 to 6 seconds would be considered blank relative to the phone connecting once the radio is turned on. So we are looking at this measurement of 3 to 6 seconds, and it's in relation to the phone connecting to the radio. Now, what do we know about the phone connecting to the radio? Well, we know when you turn the radio on, it takes 3 to 6 seconds for that connection to happen. So the time in between turning the radio on and it connecting to the phone is 3 to 6 seconds. So if we think about that in measurement terms, if turning the radio on is the SD and the phone connecting is the response, we're looking at time in between the SD and the response. And what will we call that? A, IRT or inter-response time. Inter-response time is time in between responses. Latency is time in between the SD and the first response. That's the key difference between inter-response time and latency. So this is the latency between that radio turning on and the phone making the connection. Why is it not frequency? Well, we're not making a count of anything, and it can't be rate because we don't have a frequency. So we're looking at latency. Latency between that radio turning on and the connection being made. A behavior technician is providing in-home services for a client and notices that the family is struggling with other non-behavioral issues such as financial difficulties and a lack of food. The technician wants to help and considers connecting the family with a local charity, but is unsure if this is within their scope of practice. What should they do? As technicians, you want to help. And as an analyst, I want to help. Most of us got into this field because we want to help. But we've got to remember what your primary role is as a technician, and that is implementation. What we need to avoid doing as technicians is working outside of our competencies, outside of our scopes. Ultimately, your supervisors are responsible for the case. So anything you tell parents or families, the supervisor is actually responsible for. So in this case, if we have a technician in home, sees a family is struggling with finances and food, and they want to connect them with a local charity, that seems like a good intention. But what should they do before, especially if they're not sure if it's within their scope of practice? A, provide the information for the charity. They're doing no harm. Everything done with good intentions seems good at first, right? But you can't be too careful, right? You can't put anybody in a situation that could jeopardize your job, someone else's job. ABA is a profession. There are a lot of what ifs, right? So A is not necessarily great. B, do not offer guidance if they are unsure if it is acceptable. Yes, you have to be completely sure. Just like the parent training question, until you're completely sure, don't do it. C, reach out to the supervisor and discuss the situation. Absolutely. Even if they don't give the advice, this is something the supervisor is going to want to know. It seems like an issue that could impact service. So instead of just going and trying to offer this advice, don't offer the guidance if they're unsure, and reach out to the supervisor and discuss the situation. Maybe the supervisor will give more guidance or say that's a great idea, go ahead and offer. Also, we have to keep in mind, this technician assumes they're struggling, but some people might see that as insulting if we're giving them contact to a local charity, right? You've also got to think about it from their point of view. Everything is done with good intentions, but we've got to be smart and we've got to think about all sides before we act. And especially as a technician, always talk to your supervisor first. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Be sure to like and subscribe and share. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.